All right. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the final gathering of the Foundational Toolbox for Life Action Circle Cycle being hosted by Alex Weisenfels. We are excited to have you all here. And we have in this week that is just ending, we have just experienced a full moon. The full corn moon was on September 2nd. And so we're in the waning phase of our moon cycle, which is the time of the month that we engage in self-reflection and express our gratitude and express self-forgiveness and forgiveness to others. This is also the beginning of September. So we have some new monthly awarenesses to know about. So I will read those all to you. So the month of September is Animal Pain Awareness Month, Baby Safety Month, Better Breakfast Month, Intergeneration Month, National Chicken Month, National Cholesterol Education Month, National Honey Month, National Learning and Development Month, National Papaya Month, National Peripheral Artery Disease Awareness Month, National Suicide Prevention Month, Polycystic Ovarian Syndrome Awareness Month, Self-Improvement Month, Sexual Health Month, World Alzheimer's Month, Hispanic Heritage, and today is also the International Day of Charity and National Cheese Pizza Day. So if you haven't already decided what to have for lunch, I think cheese pizza sounds like a great option. And maybe a little honey in your tea during the month of September while we're all getting ready to go into the winter and fall season when illnesses are more prevalent. And honey, especially local raw honey, is very good for your health and your immune system. So without further ado, I will pass it to you, Alex.
Thank you, Abby. Let's see. So I've got the intro here. Now, did you want to do the intro which has your part in it, or are we going to the setting intentions?
Yes, thank you very much for keeping me on my on my schedule.
That's right.
Okay, so yes, good morning. I am your guide, or not your guide, I am your guardian for the circle. My name is Abigail Twyman. I'm joining you today from the home I share with my husband, Dustin, and our dog, Ter Zeppelin, in the community of Nockety Bay. Our Alaskan oasis is located on northern Prince of Wales Island in southeast Alaska, which is located on Tlingit Ani, the land of the Tlingit people, which they also shared with the Haida and the Tsimshian, specifically what is in the ancestral homelands of the people of Tuxacan or the Coast Town tribe. I am honored to be able to share this space with my ancestors and the ancestors of those indigenous to the land I currently inhabit, who fill my soul with the fire that fuels my action. I am dedicated to remembering forward and passing along their immense wisdom for the benefit of future generations and the protection of our shared home. I am also deeply honored to be able to share this space with all of the beautiful humans and change catalysts who have been inspired and empowered to join our pod. I'm dedicated to using the privileged body I was born into and this platform to catalyze collective action. And I thank you all for your commitment to acting in the service of creating peace for yourself, your family, your community, and all inhabitants of Mother Earth. And now I'll pass it back to you.
Thanks. Here we go. Let's see. Setting intentions. Action Circle is all about learning to have more effective conversations around challenging topics, as well as effectively collaborating with others who share our vision, mission, and values. When we come to Circle, we assume the answers to all our questions are within the Circle because we've brought the right group of people together with a collective wealth of knowledge and experience. Our guiding theory is that our respective change efforts within our personal and professional lives, as well as our movements and organizations, have had limited impact on the overall trajectory of the data. Therefore, it's incumbent upon us to adjust our approach. By bringing voices together and guiding the conversation in a new yet very old way, we have the potential to develop plans of action which are much more likely to get us to the end goal, a truly just, equal, and peaceful world, the way it used to be and the way it always should have been. Our goal is to catalyze the spread of action circles across the world in the service of creating peace through collective action. Today, we're wrapping up our conversation about the foundational toolbox for life and the different mindsets and attributes that people can practice in order to have a place to start solving the problems that we all face. Let's see, here we go. The intended outcome for this action circle is to end this cycle with a clear picture of the next right actions, both as a collective and as individuals. Thank you all for being here today to share your wisdom with the circle in response to the guiding question, what can we do? Pardon me. What can we do using these tools in order to build up ourselves and our communities in order to overcome these challenges that we face? Before we begin the conversation, it's important to establish the agreements that will guide us and protect us within the circle. These 6 agreements are a starting point for action circles, and they belong to the circle. They will be reviewed at the beginning of every circle, and any member of the circle can propose additions or modifications. Number 1, while every action circle will be recorded and made public, the stories shared within the circle should only be shared in a way that protects, uplifts, inspires, and empowers others. Number 2, we listen for understanding, are mindful of how our words and actions impact the flow of the circle, and take responsibility for addressing any hurts we may cause. Number 3, we know we won't solve these complex problems overnight and are committed to learning and unlearning so we can be more impactful with our actions. Number 4, from time to time, we will pause to regather our thoughts or focus. Silent counsel can be called for by any member of the circle, either using the chat function or just speaking up. And we can even call ourselves by saying waste or why am I still talking? We realize we're speaking without saying anything new, or Gelmo. So good enough, let's move on. Let's see, number 5. The chat function is reserved for contributions from those who choose typing as their preferred mode of communication and for gems or quotes harvested by scribes, any member of the circle. Also, you're always welcome to pass just by saying or typing pass. And number 6, wherever possible, whenever possible, we take a pause before speaking and use sound verbal behavior, measured and deliberate speech when sharing our perspectives with the circle. Those are the 6 agreements. The next is our introductions. So we can introduce ourselves first, just our name and maybe a brief description, land acknowledgements if you have any, and acknowledging the agreements. And then the question for today is, how do your feelings feel? Like tactilely, like texture, pressure, temperature, that sort of thing. Let's see. And if you have a talking piece, you can hold it up while talking. Here's mine, my logo. Let's see. So I'm Alex Weisenfels. I am an eccentric existentialist and high-functioning escapist. Let's see. Oh, the land that I live on is in Madison, Wisconsin, originally settled by the Ho-Chunk people. I acknowledge the agreements, and my feelings right now, kind of firm with kind of a gripping texture, rather cool in temperature, like one of those rubber shower mats, anti-slip. And that's my introduction. Now I'll pass to Maximus.
Thank you, Alex. Nice to meet with you again in this action circle. Looking forward to getting started. And it's always interesting to hear all these goals that we have. And so starting out with my name is Maximus Pepperkamp. I am a self-taught behaviorist and self-taught behaviorologist and psychology instructor. and I live in Chico. This is the land of the Maidu tribe, but also in nearby the Wintu tribe and the Yana tribe that have lived here for a long time, and to some extent are still living here. And so my current feeling is, let me see. Um, oh, first I need to talk about the agreements. The agreements are, of course, agreed upon, and I'm very much in agreement with all the things that we set ourselves to achieve. Although, we can only expect to achieve so much. But I'm satisfied with what we have so far achieved, and I predict based on that history that we're gonna get more. So yeah, how do I feel? I feel happy and at ease, and I think that's it. So passing it on to Mary. Hi.
Go. Too many different platforms. Unmute. Okay. Hi, I'm Mary Wong. Like Alex, I live in Madison, the land of the Ho-Chunk people, though I grew up in the northern part of the state among the Menominee. Wow, okay. I am a teacher of English as a second language and a trainer of new teachers who are international students. I'm very much occupied with that right now. It's hard to let go of those thoughts even for a moment lately. I acknowledge the agreements, of course, and I'm feeling a little, maybe like a pendulum, a buzzing, vibrating pendulum. Yeah, I'm gonna go with that. And then I'm gonna hand it off to Nancy.
Thank you, Mary. So my name is Nancy Salinas. I live and work in Phoenix. The land acknowledgement for this area in particular, and I'm glad that Abby sent the other link because previously I had seen a different map, but this one gets really specific. I put my zip code. So this is more specific. It's Hohokam. I'm not sure if that's how you pronounce it, but I really want to learn more about them now. So thank you, Abby. And the item that I want to share today, what's kind of, it's a photo, and it's my newly 18-year-old daughter. She just turned 18 on on the a couple of days ago, and I'm kind of like emotional about it. But I still have it for all her senior year, so. And tactile feeling, I would say, little lightheaded, but not in a bad way. Maybe just floaty in a way, light. I don't know. And I acknowledge the agreements. And if I can actually share another item, is this one right here. I've been trying to find this plant for a while. It's like a pepper plant. It has like little round peppers, and my grandmother used to grow it in her yard, and I haven't had one in a long time. And I mentioned it to my daughter's dad over the phone that I wanted one, and he lives in upstate New York. And he went online, he found it for me, he said that it was like a random gift. So I'm really grateful for that. So that's it. Thank you. Oh, and the next person is, who's 5? Christina.
Chris, I see that you're not muted, but I also can't hear anything. Maybe your device is muted separately.
I see that there's 2 kind of two screens
Mhm.
open, right? And one of
Yep.
them says 5 and the other one doesn't say anything, so I'm not sure what's going on.
The one that has no number is not muted. I think it's a telephone, but I can't hear anything.
Mhm.
Let's see. So I'm assuming that you dialed in separately.
I think the telephone is muted and the
Hmm.
computer.
Oh, she
Oh,
just
whoops. Oh, of
she
course.
chatted and saying that she's trying.
Oh, okay. I will. I'm going to try unmuting the telephone if that just says ask to unmute. Not sure if that does anything. Abby, are you able to unmute the telephone? The one with the number 5?
I'm trying that. No, it's not. It's not. Oh, yeah.
Oh, now it is.
Oh,
Oh, okay, that
yeah,
it
it's
was
not.
unmuted for a second.
I think I double clicked it too fast. There we go.
Okay, let's try
Okay,
now. Excellent.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Oh, wow. Okay. Okay. So, hi, everyone. I'm Christina or Chris. I'm in Phoenix, Arizona as well. Hi, Nancy. And
Hi.
so I live a little north of Phoenix, and I know it's used to be inhabited by Native Americans, and I'll look into which tribe that was. And I, of course, agreed to the agreements you stated. So I'm going to do my best. I'm going to give you some context about my situation at the moment. I'm a mom, a single mom of 5 kids, and I was at my house, and now I'm on my phone, and I'm picking up twins and their friends, and I'm taking them to like a little jump center. So I'm doing the best I can to do what I want to participate in, and I wasn't able to, but I'm really making the effort today. I wasn't able to do that before, so if you bear with me. So I can certainly tell you about my feelings. It's like a bee buzzing around, if you're gonna, or a vibrating toy, or some kind of a, those jokes where there's like a handshaker and you buzz somebody. So that's kind of the energy that I feel at the moment. But I'm really doing my best to be present and listen in, and I'm just happy to be here. So thanks for having me.
Thank you, Chris. And yes, please just, participate how you can and when you can. And I am so appreciative that you're here. And I loved that visual of like the buzzing handshaker. I haven't thought about one of those in a really long time, and that I totally resonate with that right now. So like, I want to shake your hand. Oh, just kidding. That was not funny. Okay, so hello everybody. I am Abigail Twyman, aka Abby. I go by both. I acknowledge the agreements, and I am currently located in Nocatee Bay, Alaska, which, as I mentioned, was the original home of the Tlingit, Haida, and Tsimshian people, and more particularly the area in which I am was the home of the Tuxacan tribe. I've as I was listening to everybody's like feeling descriptions, how your feelings are feeling, I feel like I was feeling all of them. So it's like I've also kind of woke up this morning feeling like full, like a balloon, and kind of airy, but also like tingly and buzzy feeling, and pressure pushing in. So like pressure pushing out from the balloon, pressure pushing in from outside, and then like this, tingly, buzzy energy all around. So 'tis the season of mixed emotions. So yeah. So thank you all for being here and being part of this. I'm passing back to you, Alex.
Thanks. Let's see. First off, I do have a centerpiece and a song. Um, do we need to go through just a brief recap of the mindsets and the attributes since we have Chris, a new person, and then just for a refresher for everyone else?
Yeah,
That'd
I
probably
think
be a
that'd
good
be good.
idea.
Yeah, I think that'd be great. Thanks.
Excellent. Let's see. Let me go ahead and pull up the pictures. Yes, that is, there we go. Okay, pictures and share screen. There we go. Okay, so mindsets. Mindsets are thought patterns and ways that our minds can approach a situation to figure out what's going on and what can be done about it. So this is actually the zeroth mindset, observation mindset, and it deals with clearing the mind and just accepting all of the information about the situation without judgment. And that makes it easier to learn and recalibrate and just reset one's intentions. So this is a good place to start with things. And then we have 4 primary basic mindsets. We've got operation mindset, which deals with intuition, shaping efforts by practicing until things can be done subliminally without paying too much attention to them. So it's very useful for doing physical things like athletics, martial arts, driving, anything that you practice and become better at a certain sort of motion. It's also good for getting an intuitive sense of what's going on. And then the opposite of operation is organization, and it deals with allocating efforts. It looks at all of the details and priorities and figures out what the optimum way of allocating resources is to get the most of what needs to be done. And then we have synthesis mindset, which deals with generating ideas, and it explores possibilities in order to come up with alternatives to how things are right now, other ways that things could be. And then the opposite of synthesis is analysis, and that deals with evaluating ideas. And what it does is it explores the implications and the consequences of just any idea. So if you look at something, you can see what it means and what that implies and how all of that fits together. And it looks for anything that doesn't fit. And then we can combine these into more mindsets, many more mindsets, but we're only going to look at the secondary mindsets as the next basic ones. We've got semantics, which combines operation and analysis in order to simplify interactions. It applies labels and rules to situations in order to make it easier for us to figure out what's going on in a way that matters to us and what's most important. Makes it very easy to generalize. And the opposite of that is empathy mindset. And this combines operation and synthesis in order to individualize interactions. We can remove the labels and the assumptions that we have, and we can deal with impressions instead, and how those can change as we interact with systems. Usually people, interacting with people is the most visible application of empathy mindset. because people are complex and subtle, and we have all sorts of hidden states and feelings. And then we've got strategy mindset, which combines organization and analysis, and it deals with fortifying paths. We can see not only all of the different priorities and all the different things that we can do with our resources, we also see what's going to happen and what might go wrong, and we can allocate more resources to address those contingencies. Then the opposite of that is tactics mindset. It combines organization and synthesis to redirect paths. We can see all of the different ways that we can use what we have that aren't obvious to accomplish things that may not have seemed possible before. So all of these can be combined in various ways to create even more mindsets. And in fact, when we combine the opposing pairs, we get very impressive mindsets like perception, action, communication, facilitation. But then, even if we have the mindsets, we still need to calibrate them for use in particular contexts. We need to practice them, and we need to get better at using them in particular ways. And so that's where the attributes come in. So when we get stronger with the initiative attribute of a mindset, we can use it more easily. It doesn't take as much effort. And so we can use it even if the reward might be uncertain or far away, or just a relatively small reward. We can make that jump from where we are now to where we want to be. It's the conditions that we require to get started. And this is driving. The verb associated with initiative is driving. And then the opposite of that is resilience, and its verb is striving. And this deals with the conditions that we need to continue to maintain our performance even when it's difficult. And then we have mobility attribute, and the verb here is shifting, our ability to quickly have a meaningful effect when we encounter a new task. So we encounter something that we need to do, and very quickly we can figure out how to do something about it. And then we can quickly wrap it up and move on when necessary. So we can start, stop, change direction relatively quickly and easily here. That's mobility attribute. And then its opposite is intensity attribute. And this is delving. It deals with how big of an impact we can have, how we can push the scope of the changes that we make in order to do things that are more complicated, more effortful, that sort of thing. So those are the basic attributes and the mindsets. Any questions on that so far? That was our brief refresher here. Let's see if I'm able to see the chat. There we go. Okay, it looks like we're good for that. So I'll go ahead and share the centerpiece. If I can get back to it here. There we go. Okay, so here is, okay, I've got it. Trying to make sure I'm not sharing the chat because that would obstruct the picture. There we are. So here's the centerpiece that I've got for today. This is actually one that I've been using as the logo for the blog that I have. This is a bunch of people of varying colors of the spectrum, just all thinking about a question. And I like this picture because it represents the tagline of the toolbox. Everything begins where opposites meet, because all of these different concepts have different strengths and weaknesses. And they're useful in different situations, but the more we combine them and we use them to support each other, the more different situations we can handle and the more complex problems we can solve or feats we can accomplish. So I like what this represents here, and you can probably see other things that symbolizes for you. And then I do have a song that I pulled up here. Now, I probably won't be able to hear this because of the way my Bluetooth works. But let's see, resume share, here we go. Okay, so this is a song by Amaranth called Theory of Everything, and this is basically how I feel about this toolbox that I've developed here. So please let me know if you have any trouble hearing this. Oh, of course, it would help if I activated the sound share.
And as we're listening to a song, this is the time we take to engage in some silent reflection. So if you have your, you just want to free think or free write during this time, this is your space to do it.
Oh yes, thank you, Abby.
We don't hear any audio at this time, or at least I don't.
I forgot. Thank you. I forgot because I muted myself. I guess that also affects my screen sharing. Okay. I'll just be silent here. Is it working now?
No.
Oh, no?
Did you say you have head earphones or head earbuds?
Yes, right now I'm wearing a Bluetooth headset.
I think the way that I make sound work for telehealth is I would have to disconnect my headphones and turn the volume up, and then your speaker picks it.
Oh.
I mean, your microphone picks it up.
Oh, you know what? I will try removing the headphones that I also had plugged into the computer and see if that works. Sometimes these computers, I like how they make them intelligent, but at the same time, there's so many hidden variables that it's hard to keep track.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, how's that?
I mean, another option could be if there's like a link of the song, and then we can put it on our end. But I don't know if that would defeat the purpose of like one experience.
I can try pulling it up. Do you want to send me the link, Alex, and I can try pulling it up and sharing my sound?
Oh, okay, that'll work. I will go ahead and put it in the chat. Where is this? Oh, it's over here. All right, here is the link. Then I can stop sharing then. And maybe we'll have to meet and you can show me how you share the sound from your computer.
Okay, so. Woo! I love the lyrics to that, and I love the guitar. That was like very like shocking to my system though. when it first came on.
Dr. Squatch Natural Soap. When we say it lathers, it
Sorry. So,
Awesome. Okay, back to Alex.
YouTube ads. So yeah, that is Amaranth. That's they've got a lot of great songs, but that one particularly speaks to me, especially about the foundational toolbox for life, because that's basically what it is. Those mindsets and those attributes are only less than half of what's actually in it. We can get to the other parts in future action circle cycles. So let's see. The question for now is going to be, I can just pull it back up here. So, oh yes, last week we talked about ways in which we and other people were encountering situations that required the use of some mindset or attribute, and it was one that we or they didn't have or weren't applying to the situation. So we were figuring out, where is this happening? And then we're going to figure out what can we do about that, and then take some sort of action in that direction. And so for this action circle, we can discuss either what we did and what happened as a result, or if you're still working up to making a particular change, then we can talk about what change might be warranted or what approach you might like to try. So what I did this past week, I was having trouble with organization mindset. It's not that I am not practiced in it. Well, the problem that I realized is I know how to use it, but not confidently in real life contexts. I can use it deliberately, but I needed to practice all of the attributes and combine them together. And so I practiced organization and related mindsets like orchestration to start pulling people together and start deciding what I'm going to do with my time and how I can make and keep commitments and what I'm going to do in terms of investing my resources. I was practicing all of the attributes with that. And I realized one more thing, and that was that I had been trying to use observation mindset for everything, just as part of everything. And it's a very useful mindset, but I realized that there are two attitudes that people have. In a new situation, we start with a learning attitude, and then as we learn more, we shift to an application attitude until something forces us to go back to learning. And what observation does is it deliberately resets us back to learning. And that can be very useful, but if I have it on all the time, then I don't have that application mindset, and I'm always trying to second guess myself, and I can't make predictions or take action with any confidence. And so I am practicing not only wielding organization in a real context, like outside of a board game, but also modulating my observation so that I can say, I know enough about what this is. I'm going to do something, and if I make a mistake, I will pay the price. But I'm not going to just inch my way forward. There has to be something decisive. So that's what I'm going to need in order to use organization. That's going to be very important because organization is what deals with, well, with allocating resources. It scales things up. It makes things grander. It's how we power things up and optimize things on a larger scale and moving many things together. So that's what I learned, and it's going to be very tough for me, but I can always do better now that I have a direction. And I'll pass the talking piece to Maximus.
Thank you, Alex. This here is a little Delft blue vase that I got as a gift from a friend who heard that I was Dutch, and he says, "Oh, I got something Dutch for you." He somehow picked that up somewhere, and it is from the town near where I used to live, Delft. And maybe you have seen the paintings of Vermeer. Vermeer, he actually lived in Delft and painted also in his paintings some of that. I have been busy this week, very much analyzing implications and consequences of my actions, and come to the conclusion that there's still a lot of, yeah, you could say, a need for me to decrease efforts that is not leading to anything. But I always do, I have a lot of efforts that are creating variability, so it is actually having an effect, but in terms of yeah, the net effect, so to speak, I'm also perhaps giving too much attention to people who I shouldn't pay too much attention to. In any case, it has to do also with staying closer to my own values, and not in any ways being also expecting of myself to fit in somewhere where I just don't fit. And so, yeah, you know, it's so easy when we're taking terms like this to speak, to think ahead because your turn is up, and to not listen to the other person. So I was also making an effort to not do that and to listen to what you were saying. And in doing that, I realized, like, oh, I'm not preparing anything to say. But that's good. That's good, because that's actually exactly how I like it to be. And so yeah, that's kind of it for now. Thank you. I had a good week, so thank you. And then I pass on the baton to Mary.
I'm not exactly sure how to link things to the toolbox and the mindsets, but I've been doing way more organization than I feel comfortable with over the past several weeks, many weeks, because I'm in charge of designing blueprints for courses that are taught by myself and others. And normally I have a pretty basic, like, I'm going to cover these concepts, but I don't really like to make firm plans until I know the students and their strengths and weaknesses. If you're planning a course and it requires dozens of hours of setup in Canvas, in the learning software, then you really can't do that. You can't just sit and wait. And so I'm finding myself trying to make predictions about how much planning my colleagues will appreciate and how much will be, oh, she wants us to do it her way. Now I'm going to have to, like, delete this and do my own thing. So I'm realizing the extent to which, after many, many, many years of being very highly organized because I had to be, because I didn't know what I was doing, I've come to a place where I rely on being in observation and operation mindset most of the time. And that is, I just I'm in a situation, I know what to do in that situation. But now I have to predict the situation, and I've done a pretty poor job of that, actually. I mean, it's hard to there's such a range of different skill levels in my class, from the one woman who buttonholed me and said, "Here, I have this project and I need you to help me with it. Can I have your office hour this afternoon?" And I'm like, "Yeah, sure, fine." Knew exactly what she wanted. To people who are not clear why their advisor made them take the class, don't understand what I'm saying when I introduce really basic stuff like, we're going to do introductions, and they all thought it meant to introduce a concept or idea, not another person. And so I'm finding that I've done all this organizing, I've done all this planning, and it wasn't the right planning. And I didn't put, kind of what Maximus is saying, I feel like I'm finding that in spite of my best efforts and pretty careful thinking about how much I'm going to do and how I'm going to do it, that I've failed to predict very well what I'm actually going to need to do to make this particular class of this particular group of people a success. So I'm kind of like back to square one, like I would be if I hadn't done all that organizing and planning. And I think I'll hand it on to Nancy.
Mary, I really felt everything you said in terms of, when you are the person that's in charge of organizing, like, it's hard to keep everybody happy. But anyway, I feel you. So what, for me, and these past maybe even couple of weeks, something that I've been trying to do that connects with the mindsets would be trying to see things like if it were the first time I'm seeing them, and trying to get rid of preconceived notions. And I'm not going to get into the details of what those things are, but I feel like if it's combining both the observation and the synthesis mindset, because you would have to be in the present moment and, experiencing these thoughts, feelings, and emotions, but at the same time, you would have to be exploring other possibilities of how you can look at that situation. I think sometimes when you get used to doing things the same way, or you have the same thought patterns, they can become kind of too fixated. So I'm trying to do a little bit more of that. Also, reconnecting with things that I have enjoyed in the past, and that I have maybe not forgotten how to do them, but have forgotten the sensations that come from enjoying those things, because we kind of get busy and we don't do those things anymore. I guess it might seem silly, but I realized that I didn't listen to music anymore. And I was like, I used to listen to music all the time. Like, that's what I thrive on. And then with enjoying some of other activities, and like combining that sensory experience and seeing like, oh my goodness, like this is something that I needed, and I was thinking that it could perhaps be related to operation mindset. So kind of like being more present, seeing things differently in more creative ways, that would be more healthy for me and for other individuals around me. But that's hard to do. But I think it's a worth effort, to put my time into. That's it for me. And Christina is next.
Okay, I was just trying to unmute her from my end too, because that worked best last time.
I think we need to unmute the one with the picture of the phone.
That's
I
okay.
missed that last time.
She just said that she needs to pass, which is absolutely okay.
Oh, okay.
I will take the baton. Okay, so this week has been a very interesting week in terms of the application of mindsets and the attributes to make them better. Because I feel like I've been doing things this week that I haven't done in the past, which I have had identified as problems. And my prediction was that by working on these things and trying out new skills and behaviors and habits and kind of breaking those old, like, it's like, this is the way that I always do it. I'm always kind of in this mindset versus kind of on the other side of that spectrum. I'm trying to kind of, actively break those connections. And while I feel as though I've had some successes and, have accessed some reinforcement for my behavior, that is, going to keep me doing, trying to find the next right action and doing the right thing. I've come up against that, the negative response in the environment, that aversive response in the environment that in the past would have caused me to shut down, run away, spin out of control. And at this point in my life where, like I know these things about myself, I know that those patterns exist. At this moment in my life, I feel like stronger and more connected and more grounded and able to like see through the bullshit. And in a very like liberating way, like okay, well, I predicted, it's like, yes, we could predict that there was going to be that negative response given all things considered. And so because I feel like I was able to foresee some of those challenges, I already, even though I hadn't formally said like, okay, if this happens, I'm going to do this, I feel like I've been able to like respond in a way that is much more adaptive than previously. So I'm just looking back at the mindsets to see if there's some of the keywords that I can use. So the let's see. So I think where I'm at right now is really focused on utilizing the tactics mindset. So combining my organizational abilities and my ability to synthesize information to help the various teams that I'm a part of find a different way of doing things that is kind of, what I want to term, because people have been using that like, we got to get creative, we have to think outside the box, and I'm like, I've heard people say like, ew, I'm done with that phrase, I'm done with that. Like, no, I don't want to be outside of the box, I want to be in the box, I want things to be settled, and I want blah, I just want, like, I want to know what to do, and I just want to be able to execute upon that plan. And so like, I'm trying to throw that, like, get out of the box or in the box or whatever, I'm trying to throw that language to the side, like, defuse from that. And really, I'm trying to reframe it as like, get in the boat, because when you're in the boat and you're out on the water, and like, we've got like, we're here, there's lots of things that we need to do, but at the end of the day, it's all about like figuring out our final destination, make sure we have all the right people and all the right resources, and then we're just going to go with the flow. Like I want to kind of reframe this to help people be more flexible in their thinking, and really find that fortified path, but in a more fluid way. So that's kind of where I'm at right now. Oh, and I wanted to make another comment, kind of in relation to what Maximus mentioned about, while, Alex posed the question and gave his response, and, there is that tendency to want to start thinking about like what your response is going to be versus like staying tuned in and being focused. Like this is what I love about action circles, is that we're able to work on these skill sets that are important out in the real world, because we have that habit of like, oh, there was a question, I need to think about what I'm going to be saying. And the cool thing about this format is that we have various opportunities. We have opportunities to hear a question, listen to what others are saying, and then generate our response. And then we have other opportunities to hear a question, contemplate, silent, reflect, contemplate, and then hear other people's responses. Those are very different response patterns, but they're both very important skills to work on developing. So thank you for, Maximus, you just were kind of making that as a comment, and I wanted to kind of name it as something that it's like, that's actually a skill that we're working on and we're working on developing together. So now it's back to you, Alex.
Excellent. Let's see. Next question that we've got here. So that was, what did we do, what happened, and then also a bit of what did we learn and how will we use this going forward. Since we have gone through the previous action circles and we talked about where we see things being used and where we see them not being used, this one is going to be a bit more free form. So the question itself exists just as a starting place, but any thoughts about moving forward are welcome, whether or not they appear to literally answer the question or not. And so based on the different things that people are dealing with, we can sort of leave that question there to be answered. What are we doing? What do we see in response? And what are we learning? And how can we use this going forward? But then also, I'd like to pose the question of what can we do collectively, either here or collectively with our respective organizations, to move the world forward and equip people with these tools, the mindsets and attributes and all of the other tools that we're all aware of that people need. So for my own answer, other than the action circle, is this very action circle cycle, and then the one after next month, right? So the one starting in early October. I'm sharing the tools that I've got to hopefully help people frame problems and solutions. And my cohort and I are working on a project to show people what constructive action looks like, because it doesn't look like going on social media and transmitting messages or yelling or trying to convince someone that their fears are somehow not just wrong but invalid. So after considering various different ways of deconstructing people's people's thinking and feelings using deconstruction mindset, which is analysis and empathy. It's one of my favorite mindsets personally. We've decided that probably the best way is to just act, to demonstrate, because actions speak louder than words. So to demonstrate what it looks like to actually solve a problem, because it's a surprisingly rare skill. Most people can, I know this personally, most people, including myself, are actually much more comfortable just doing what we're told and accepting that this will solve a problem. But things like responsibility mindset and other extremely high level composite mindsets, those are actually quite rare, and combining all of the attributes together. So culminating all of these together to take responsibility for dealing with all of the problems and liabilities that we have, it's actually tough and it's very rare. And when most people do it, it's incomplete, and there's all sorts of people trying to do different things, and it gets very messy. And so part of what this theory of everything is for is to give us a place to start and turn some of these barriers into hills that we can climb. And it's not my strong suit. The organization is, I can use it, but it's not, it's actually, I think, my weakest mindset in terms of just the attributes that it has, just for me personally. So, however, with the support from all of my other mindsets, I think that I can make it go a lot farther than it would on its own. So I will practice that and increase that so it's no longer a limiting factor on what I can accomplish. And then we can show people what it looks like to do things constructively instead of demanding that they be done, but without knowing how or even really what the end will look like. So yeah, more combining the abstract and the concrete. That's about all I have. It's going to be interesting. That's my plan, and I pass to Maximus.
Thank you. So what I'm looking at is that people have, I'm thinking of that picture that you showed of all these people sitting around in this circle thinking about this one question, but individuals have their own question. And we are often preoccupied with questions that are, I don't know, conditioned because of our culture or because of how we grow up. And we end up having these questions. If we were in another culture, we would never have these questions, but we are, I don't know, having to answer certain questions about ourselves because we grew up the particular way. I mean, if, for instance, we're individuals, we're individualistic society. In a more collectivistic culture, you would not have these questions. And but to come to asking the right question, the question that is your question, is also oftentimes only possible after you have tried to answer the question and realize, like, my God, it was not my question at all. And I was just busy with this, and I thought that it was very important, but it was not important at all. And then when you finally get to your own question, you actually find an answer to your own question, because, you know, it kind of has to do also with the N of one, you know, the organism. We have to look at everything at the level of the individual organism. And everybody is unique, and to find out what works for you, and for you to find out what works for you is really a matter of just staying with you, you know, not anywhere else. And that is continuously challenged by our culture, by our, I don't know, social obligations and whatnot. So yeah, for me that deals with organization, yeah, the allocating of efforts and priorities, and deals with also with observation, just really seeing what is happening. And then, you know, ties in with what you were just saying, Alex, also this responsibility and this really, this ability to acknowledge that, yeah, I have whatever I was busy with, the questions that I've answered or that were oh, I don't know, keeping me busy, was maybe all not that important. Or in others have said this too, it didn't lead to anything. And they just simply say like, okay, well, all right, back to square one. And then you kind of come into this yeah, you could say freedom, where you are just free with yourself to just be what you want to be, and you suddenly see like, okay, well, I can try this, or what can I do different? You know what you have already done, so you don't need to do that again. There's no heavy judgment on that anymore because you have already done it. So you are basically freeing yourself up to move into a new yeah, into a new level of experience, if you will. And to me also, this has to do with emotion. This has to do with feeling, with the sense like, you know, that the absence of dissatisfaction, the absence of, I don't know, stress, the feeling of positive emotions, you know, instead of, I don't know, something that bothers you. And so that's where that all comes from. And unless we can feel these things, which means that we are done feeling bad, we're freeing ourselves up to feel good, then we cannot act on that, you know. So that's kind of where I see this is going with my analysis again, because I really look at these consequences which can only occur if there's a history of them occurring. And so the more history I accumulate with that, and the more I allow myself to have that history and to continue with that, the more that's going to happen in the future. And at some point you just realize like, wow, that went really well, you know, because it just happens by itself, because you have accumulated that history out of which you can just continue to do that. And so anyway, that's kind of what I have. So thank you.
I know we're supposed to be talking about how to make the abstract concrete and get, I feel that in my own small circle where I'm operating now, the atmosphere is very positive. Like I've talked about before, that the program in English as a second language has been really proactive and really positive and mutually supportive. And I feel really fortunate in that. And even the University of Wisconsin, when I am looking at these lists of, you know, online and in Facebook groups where people are saying the demands that their organizations are putting on them, or the, you know, they're putting them in danger, or they feel that they're being put in danger against their, you know, without their own consent. And I feel like the University of Wisconsin has given us every kind of respect as professionals in terms of, you know, bringing people in on the decision making and then saying, look, here are your choices, make the choice that's right for you. So normally I would be thinking in terms of, okay, my own little situation is where I would be making change, but I kind of don't feel like that's necessary. I think at this point, I'm very concerned about supporting my K-12 colleagues locally and nationally. And I've reached out to a couple of people and gotten no response, and I kind of don't know what to do next. Because it seems to me that the thing to do is to contact people that you actually know that are K-12 teachers. And I'm thinking probably there's no response because they're overwhelmed, you know, and they're just doing their jobs and that's all they've got time to do. But, and my specific offer of help has been, look, I'm at the UW, we kind of have things under control. I can't meet face to face with anybody because of my age, but I could Zoom, you know, I could call a family. I have Chinese language speaking skills that might be useful to you in communicating with a family that doesn't, where the parents don't speak English very well. You know, I'd be happy to read on Zoom to kids, and just, I haven't gotten any response. And I guess, I don't know, maybe I need to dig into the toolbox further, but I don't really have any idea what the next action would be. And I think this is kind of an ongoing problem for me. As an effective altruist, I think, oh, is teaching at a, you know, prestigious research university the best possible use of my skills? Should I be looking elsewhere? And then when I look elsewhere, I'm like, okay, you can do the white savior thing. I have very serious reservations about that. Or you can keep doing what you're doing, because there isn't, it's hard to find something where it's obviously going to be better, higher impact. So I would be really interested if somebody else from the outside can look at me and say, oh, well, have you tried this? Or did you think about that? Or I see you're stuck in this mindset or that mindset, because I don't see it myself. And I kind of go through the list and I'm like, I think I'm doing these things. I think I'm, you know, making the most of this, but I don't see my own weaknesses. That's the long and the short of it. And now I'd like to hear from Nancy.
Thank you, Mary. I kind of had that same initial reaction that you have. It's like that you had, like, oh, how do I turn something from abstract to concrete? I think I teach online courses for graduate ABA programs, and I've been kind of noticing, and also like on social media, how, especially when you're early, coming early into the field, how we want to put everything in boxes, right? Like one of the students in a discussion wrote something about, was asking a peer about how they had heard that we should never, never, never use negative reinforcement and with children. And I kind of sat there and I was going to allow the peer to respond, but then the peer never responded. I was like, I really want to tackle this one. And I think the way I was looking at it was, the world is not black and white. It's not, this is the way it's supposed to be, or you should never do this, or you should never do that. Behavior is so complex. And in the surface, ABA seems so, you know, the principle seems so common sense, like, oh yes, this is the definition of positive reinforcement, and this is how you apply it, and this is the meaning of whatever. But what I was trying to convey to them was like all the different variables that come into play when you want to apply something like this, and basically first seeing it the way in the perspective that they were trying to tackle. And I was like, you know what, I can totally see where that thought comes from. Like, yes, I wouldn't want a child to constantly be afraid of or avoiding negative consequences to increase their behavior. Like, that's just not a cool way to live, right? So even in myself, I feel like a lot of the things that I do like I've mentioned in the past, are more negatively reinforced. Like, I'm going to meet my deadline because I don't want to be in trouble, versus I'm going to meet my deadline because I get some satisfaction out of meeting the deadline. So I guess, like, and I'm sorry if I'm going all over the place. This was a little hard for me to wrap my head around, but kind of thinking, well, one, she's right. I don't want kids, I don't want to be using negative reinforcement right away. Um, and I emphasize the fact that, yes, we have to use positive reinforcement, but then I also was talking about the cost benefit analysis. And if there's side effects to how you're applying it, and how we have to use ethics. And a student losing points because they didn't turn in their work on time is negative, or sorry, the possibility of losing points if you don't turn in your work in on time, that's negative reinforcement. But that's a little bit inconsequential when you're comparing it to, perhaps you're not letting a child be in social situations that are going to be important for their development, right? Like, kind of like, it's not black and white. It's not, no, you never use negative reinforcement, but it's like, no, you focus on this. And when needed, you use all these other principles. And somebody's knocking on my door. Just a second, sorry. So I guess making them think, using concrete examples to show them how abstract these things are, and how you can do both. I guess that's what I was trying to get at. And I don't know, I'm trying to find a better way of like getting them to think more outside of those boxes, and not just trying to put everything in like, this is the way it's supposed to be, because life is not that way, and behavior is way more complex than that. So sorry, that's it. And Christina's next, but yeah, I don't know if she wants to go or if she wants to pass. And I'm so sorry, I need to see who's at the door. I'm so sorry.
Go for it. Take care of yourself. Chris, are you in a place where you are already wanting to participate or able to participate?
Okay, can you hear me?
Yep.
Oh, wonderful. Okay, so it's quite challenging. Technology is wonderful, but trying to use all the different devices. So I have my phone going and the Zoom app, trying to remain attending. So I'm being new to this. It's very new to me, and I'm trying to follow all of what you're saying, and some things are definitely ringing true for me. And I really, I guess at this point, want to say, I guess, thank you for sharing and teaching me these new mindsets that I look forward to learning more about on my own time, because I know this is the last meeting that you have on this topic anyway. And I think that I will begin to explore these and use these and practice these. I definitely am in similar situations of a couple of you, so I have the same experiences that you are talking about. And I think it's just a daily struggle and a daily decision making, moment to moment sometimes, on which of these mindsets to be aware of, and to put action towards shifting a mindset when need be. So this is, and I'm rusty because this is, I was much more trained in this and much more involved in this way of thinking and this way of being in a former career as a family therapist, and having some of the experiences that I have now, being more in business of black and white, not being able to so much apply it. But I'm very grateful for being put back in that situation. So I guess just thank you. That's what I have right now, and I hope to be more participatory in the future.
Awesome. Thank you, Chris. So while I feel as though the future is unclear, like the like where we're going and how we're going to get there is very unclear to me. I, like Mary, like in my current, like in my very like microscopic environment, I feel very good about how things are going. Um, and that gives me a lot of hope. It's like that little seed, right? The seed that you plant in the little, in the little starter, and it starts to come up and you're like, yay, I'm doing something right and it's working. And it's like, I can see life, I don't know exactly what it's going to turn into, but I see life forming and good things happening. But don't exactly know what it's going to look like. So the biggest thing that I keep coming back to is just that call to be the model and just demonstrate day in and day out what it looks like, and use the talking and the instructing as a backup tool, but not my primary weapon when it comes to making changes, because a lot of my career I have spent focused on the let me tell you about these amazing things and all these amazing things that I've done with it, and you too could do all this, if only you would do. And right, it's not effective long term. It might get people's interest captured, but it doesn't further us. And so I have been very, very focused on staying present and staying mindful and observing what's going on. Trying to quickly draw conclusions about oh, you're doing and saying these things. This is my internal dialogue. Oh, I see that this person is doing and saying these things. That indicates to me that they might not understand, or they might not have ever seen, we've talked about it, but they might not have seen X, Y, and Z. So rather than me jumping in and, explaining again, I'm going to just, in the most kind, caring, and compassionate way say okay, pause that. Let me show you what we talked about this the other day. Let me jump in and show you, so it's going to be more clear. And then also being very mindful about following up with that in a outside of that context. So it's I'll use a more concrete example. I know that sounds a little bit abstract, but I have a set of, I work with 2 lead teachers and 3 aides who are, responsible for providing this, an educational environment and high quality instruction from the teachers. And then the aides are there to provide support and kind of function as the translator between what the teacher wants and what the student is able to currently process and do on their own. So they're kind of that, the conduit. And so, we've been meeting on a daily basis. I have them tell me about what's your, what were the successes and stressors and comments and questions, and let's talk about what happened, and then I've been able to take that information, provide them with some written guidance so they have a clear understanding, and something to refer back to. But then also have been able to immediately jump in and model okay, here are the words and here's what it looks like. And it has felt so good. It's felt so organic, and it's felt so like right. And we're making positive changes, and we're feeling very good. And so it's like I want to keep that momentum going. We've got lots of behavioral momentum. And then the concern comes in because we have as a unit, we're functioning very well, and under very stressful circumstances. We put in all this work over the summer. We made a plan. Now we're in plan execution. We're like, yeah, this is great. And then you have the system in which we're operating that is not looking at this beautiful seedling that is starting to sprout and sharing the joy. They're responding to outside influences and trying to impose things upon us that don't feel good, and doesn't feel right, and doesn't feel like in the best interest of the team and the children. So I'm trying to find a way, like next right action, to be able to paint a picture to show how good what we have is, and how what needs to be done, what vitamins and minerals and nutrients we need to give this this beautiful little seedling to make it grow, and how how the current actions are putting fertilizer that's not quite ready to be fertilizer on our little seedling that is likely to burn the roots. So I'll leave that beautiful analogy there for you. But yeah, so I'm kind of I'm very hopeful about what we've got, and there's so many good positive things, and I'm trying to find that way to be the communicator, be the translator from what's what could be, but what is what are the risks that are putting that that beautiful the kind of that beautiful outcome that we've worked so hard to craft and predict at risk. So it's a challenge, but I'm up to it. And I have you all to thank for kind of being my ongoing inspiration and keeping me positive and moving forward.
Well, you're doing a good job, Abby.
Awesome. There's a lot of things to think of here. And I'm kind of out of questions. I didn't expect us to have 15 minutes left. So I don't know if we just want to go around again, or if we just want to open the floor up. Oh, we can, at this point, it might be a good idea for us to just speak directly with each other. Like if anyone has any questions that they want to ask another specific person about their situations or the tools that they use, how they deal with things.
Yeah, I think that sounds perfect, Alex.
Anyone want to go first?
Yeah, kind of open the floor up for open conversation, council.
I know I was interested in seeing if I could help Mary with the issues that you're dealing with getting people organized and making sure that people have what they need and the plans and everything. That could get into a lot of nitty-gritty details. So I was wondering if you wanted to schedule some time to discuss that.
Can Facebook message you?
Yeah, I sent you a message because I have some skills with facilitation mindset, combining tactics and strategy. So I think it would be good to set things up so that they can be modified on the fly as necessary. Seems like it would be good to have plans that are modular. There's things like standardization, modification, all these different mindsets that go into setting up plans that don't have to be followed to the letter, but can be adapted. Sounds like people need mobility and resilience to combine and get adaptability attribute sliding. So yeah, I've got a whole bunch of tools that they're just coming through here. It's like, oh, I can use this. I can use this. Yes, we can do this. We can make it work. So I'd like to help. I have a vested interest in making sure that the education system works.
I have a little question about the next topic. Maybe, I don't know if this is a good time or not. Is this going to start like next Saturday?
Yes. Yeah. So next Saturday starts our next cycle, which is it's going to be led by Sheena Trait. And the topic is appreciative inquiry.
Okay. I just noticed there's a question or a comment on the chat by Chris, if we want to address that. Or we should address that.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll read it aloud. So Chris asked, I wonder if anyone could talk about their go-to tools they use when feeling stuck or exasperated, yet overwhelmed to focus on one action.
Well, I do have one that I use. My go-to mindsets are probably analysis, just to figure out what's going on, observation, and also synthesis. I combine analysis and synthesis to get perception mindset, which deals with forming a picture of reality based on not just the paradigms that I have already, but also thinking about all the things that could be happening. It's a long story, but there's pros and cons to it, but it's just my instinct is if I get frustrated, I have to figure out, okay, why is this happening? How did we get here? What is causing this? Just trace the cause and effect. And then just to clarify, operation is not part of perception mindset. Let's see. I do use observation to boost it, but that's kind of that's a side thing. What I do is I try and identify the root cause, and then I try and figure out what I can change about it. And sometimes that doesn't work very well because it turns out, oh, well, the root cause is that this entire system is designed wrong. And so now I have to go back and redesign it from scratch. And that doesn't always help, but at least it gives me some understanding of, okay, well, now I know what I'm going to do for the long term. But right now I need to make this system work. And I can be satisfied with that because I know that in the long term, I'm going to try and keep it from happening again. So that's just what I do. It's not what everyone does, and it doesn't work in every situation.
I think it's like such an excellent question, and it's probably one of the hardest ones to tackle, at least for me, because it's easy to, our default is kind of like that first, well, at least my default, let me talk for myself. My default, sometimes depending on the day, it could be frustrating, right? To go to is like frustration because it's a normal human reaction when things are not going the way we had planned them or wanted them to be. So I don't want to say a bad word here, but there's a book that I just finished reading. And it's the subtle art of not giving a F. Have you guys read that? I love that book. Oh my goodness. I just read it and I'm like, psh, like that's amazing. I'll put it on in the link in case anybody's interested. It's a very short read. It won't take you a long time, but I think the strategies that this guy has, the author, it's almost like it's things that I knew, but I had never like put them together to make it work and like in application. And I think the way he describes them, you can really put things in application. And some of those things are like, you know, like stop thinking, and this goes for me absolutely, like stop thinking that you are somehow have to be the one that makes this whole big changes in the universe. Like like you're just a human being. You're not, I know it sounds bad and it's opposite of what we tell like especially kids, like I'm not special, I'm just one of the many billions of people uh, in the world. And like you just do whatever the best that you can. And the more we think that we have more grandiose like things, you know, like thinking and a lot of thinking and not doing, then it kind of gets in your way of meeting your goals and meeting your values, and talking about the difference between like really conceptualizing your values and knowing how to apply these. But I think the key point was not that you're not an important human being. I don't think he was trying to get that, but like once you stop being so consumed by what you want to do and start doing, even if it's a little bit, that's how you get to make big changes in the world, like by kind of like doing the opposite of what you're fixated on. I don't know, like he's better at explaining it, so I'll just kind of put the link in the chat. But at least for me, I think it was a nice, at the right moment, right time book, because I know that, you know, I've read books several times in the past, and I'm like, well, that didn't make as much sense as it does now, or just depending on your life experience at that moment, it kind of hits home. So I would totally recommend that book.
Yeah, I second that. I second that recommendation. I love that book. I got the audiobook. It's a really quick, I think it's like 5 hours or something, the audiobook. It's a really quick one. It's so good. So I saw, Mary, that you were unmuting, so I'll keep this short because I know you have something to say. But in regard to Chris's question about you know, what to do when feeling stuck and exasperated, the two that come to mind for me that are like very present in this moment are tactics and empathy. So at this moment, I'm kind of trying to exercise my empathy mindset and really try to take that step back and look at the big picture about, like, you know, this person did or said this, right? I could just say like, oh, well, that person is a blah, 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 and they don't blah, blah, blah. Or I could say, well, right now, that might not be how that person wants to be acting right now, but they've got all these other things going on in their individual environment that is creating the conditions under which that is the behavior of choice. And they probably aren't seeing the long-term impact that is going to have on the environment, because they're new to this environment and they don't understand our culture and our context. So I'm trying to kind of like use that empathy mindset to then also kind of support the team with the tactics about like, okay, so we understand that this is what's going on, and this is what feels like right now, like we're all just like reflexively responding to what's happening. But you know, let's empathize with ourselves, empathize with others, and then think about how we can be more tactical. And I'm kind of thinking about the attributes that are kind of helping to boost those, or the attributes that need to be kind of like strongly applied to these mindsets, which are resilience and mobility. So it's just like keep doing it, stay strong, and just like keep trying to find that right path, even though it doesn't really seem clear. So and then I'll pass to Mary.
So actually, Abby, I think that was great that you went first, because it sort of gives me a segue. Yeah, my buddy's being really loud if you hear the parrot in the background. My first go-to when I'm really feeling frustrated or angry, or like I'm trying to make this work and why are people working against me, is just to remind myself to breathe, which is a thing I surprisingly forget to do quite often. And maybe even spend, 5 minutes just breathing, and getting a grip on where my emotions are going. And also then to sort of settle into that frustration and that feeling of stuckness. Like, why am I stuck? What do I mean in my own mind when I say that I'm stuck? What am I experiencing? What is this experience of being stuck? And try to sort of break it down. I guess that would be analysis. Break it down into its individual components, and what is really going on with me. And what I find so often for me is that my being stuck is often relational. So I've talked before about the fact that I don't think empathy comes supernaturally to me. I don't immediately go to, oh, how is everyone else feeling about this? And so I need to, wow, he's never that loud. Hang on a second.
It sounds cool, actually.
It's
He's
all
like,
relational.
yeah, he's in the background. He's like, amen, sister, amen.
I'm feeling stuck. He's usually such a mellow bird. I don't know what's going on. He must have heard something outside. Okay, so I'll try to get back to this. For me, it's often relational and often defensive. And what I need to realize is, am I being defensive? Am I being defensive because the other person is being defensive? So let me get myself back to the goal. Like, what's the goal here? Is there some reason, some probably very logical reason, that the other person isn't sharing my goal, or the other people don't share my goal, or don't share my vision of the goal? So is it that I haven't articulated the goal well? Is the problem with my semantics? Or is it with there actually being something about the goal that's objectionable that I haven't tuned into? And so I end up doing a lot of work sort of trying to move my brain around to the other players, and trying to say, okay, so what does this look like from this student's perspective? Or what does it look like from my colleague's perspective? Or what does it look like from my boss's perspective? Why is she being so obstructional here? Is she worried about her boss's perspective? And often this I guess it's a combination of empathy and analysis that I consciously go through, leads me to sort of see what Alex was talking about. What is the underlying problem? The underlying problem is somehow between people. And sometimes it has absolutely nothing at all to do with the actual goal that we're trying to achieve, and something else that's quite easy to get out of the way. Some other disagreement, something somebody felt wronged about in a past interaction that they're perceiving as being similar to this one. And so I think a lot of these sticking points are actually about, not only getting where other people are coming from, but being really, really honest with myself about the goal and what I really want out of it and where I'm going.
Excellent.
I,
We're technically at time
oh,
here.
sorry.
Oh, sorry, good.
No, I was just going to say that, that I think what a lot of the things that Mary was saying kind of ties into like everybody's values, right? Like if you are operating with your value and you're implementing these strategies because that's your value, but that might not be somebody else's value. And kind of considering what everybody's values are, and maybe whether they have to reconsider whether those values are good for the organization or for whatever their setting it is, or whether our own values, like maybe we have values that don't have doable outcomes, right? That we might be trying to achieve something that's not in alignment, that we think it's in alignment with the values, but the value may not be something that is achievable, whether it's our values or their values. So I think keeping that in mind, but then also sometimes we don't even know the values under which we're operating. So just figuring that out, and then it's already hard enough to figure ours out, and then trying to figure out other people's out. And then actually, I think like having this overarching or like umbrella type of, these are the values, like what is the most efficient way at getting at these. And that's why I think organizations do have like your value statements, because once you have that and it's solid and it's doable, then everybody can get on the same page on how to achieve that most efficiently. But that's easier said than done. But that's kind of like what reminded me of what Mary was saying and how that could be tied to everybody's values.
Excellent. We're technically at time here, so we can close out this meeting. I don't know what the standard spiel is for closing out a cycle. This is only the second cycle that we've had for this action circle, but thank you all for being part of this cycle, the Foundational Toolbox for Life. I'm of course available to discuss any and all aspects of the toolbox, including the ones that didn't fit into this 4-week cycle. And the reason why I'm here is I'm hoping that it can help everyone solve all of these problems that we get stuck with, or at least get unstuck. And so, yeah, any follow-ups that people would like to pursue. Don't know if you have my contact information, but Abby, you can share my email, or I can put it in the chat here as well. Just do that. Here we go. There we go. And thank you all for attending, and I hope that that it's useful what you've learned here, and thank you all for sharing the things that I and everyone else have learned from you as well.
Thank you so much, Alex, and thank you so much, everybody, for participating in this second iteration of Action Circles. I had a wonderful experience with this cycle and have learned so much. Alex was invited in as our resident philosopher, and I am I'm so happy that we've been able to experience this together, and learn the things that we did and find ways to carry this forward. So I look forward to seeing you all. Hopefully you will join us for the third Action Circle cycle, which begins next weekend on September 12th. That will be hosted by Sheena Trait and will be focused on appreciative inquiry, which is a process by which we can kind of rethink how we're approaching problems in a very systematic way to keep taking action towards our goals in alignment with our values. If you want to stay on for a little social time afterwards, we'll be there after the recording is over. If not, thank you for coming, and we'll see you soon. Take care.